The Navajo Tale in the Beginning is brought to you by Not a Prophet Org, the place on the internet to find spiritual guidance powered by artificial intelligence. At one side were the night animals who had lost their moccasins. The ones on the other side represented the day animals who had won the moccasins. Coyote wanted to be on the winning side, so he jumped back and forth to be on the right side whenever the last sticks were won. That is why you can see Coyote during the day and night. The day people and the night people had flipped a bat into the air to determine who would be the first to play the game. Whether the bat was to land on his side, front or back, was to determine this. After the bat landed on his back, Coyote said, "From now on, sick people will be flat on their backs and look up through the hole in the hogan because of what happened to the bat." The fever people were there to cause disease, and yet if this had not happened, there would be no sickness on the earth. The two sides began to bet each other as to which was to win the light, and which was to win the darkness upon the earth. If a man from the opposite side said that there was no ball in the first moccasin, he would lose 10 points. He then got a second chance, and if he said one of the moccasins was empty, and it was, he lost nothing. If he guessed correctly, he got to hide the ball for his side. If he guessed the right one, he got no points. There are 102 yucca leaves in the center where the gambling takes place. These are taken out of the center until one side wins all 102. Here is how the points in the game are counted. If the ball is in one, and you say 4 has the ball, you lose 4 points. If the ball is in one, and you say 3 has the ball, you lose 10 points. If the ball is in one, and you say 2 has the ball, you lose 4 points. If the ball is in 2, and you say 4 has the ball, you lose 10 points. If the ball is in 2, and you say 3 has the ball, you lose 6 points. If the ball is in 2, and you say 1 has the ball, you lose 4 points. If the ball is in 3, and you say 4 has the ball, you lose 4 points. If the ball is in 3, and you say 2 has the ball, you lose 6 points. If the ball is in 3, and you say 1 has the ball, you lose 10 points. If the ball is in 4, and you say 3 has the ball, you lose 4 points. If the ball is in 4, and you say 2 has the ball, you lose 10 points. If the ball is in 4, and you say 1 has the ball, you lose 4 points. If a person cheats and has the ball in his hand, that side will not win anyway. In the cave, someone pulled off 102 yucca leaves for chips and laid them down. Someone else cut up a piece of soapweed into a ball to hide inside the moccasins. A club was needed, so one was made out of cedar wood. When you hit the moccasin with this club, and the ball is inside the moccasin, it will make a sharp sound. The game went on until one side lost, and all but 2 yuccas were taken from them. The daytime people had only 2 sticks left near the morning hours. They were about to be beaten. Future people will live to be 102 because of the score possible in this game. It was said, "Nowadays few do not live to see 100 years. The life of people gets shorter and shorter until it will reach the end, and then the end of the world will come too." The night people were the owls, bats, nighthawks, wolves, and others. The day people began to talk about how they were going to beat the others. A gopher from the daylight group was given a chance to go where the moccasins were lying. This he did by making a tunnel to the 4 moccasins on the side of the night people. He then cut a hole in each toe of the moccasins. There was nothing in any of them, so he came back and told this to everyone. The locust was given a chance to go and see what he could find. He got out of his shell and left it there against the wall and went down into the tunnel. The locust left his shell there against the wall so that everyone would think he was still there. He had been sitting near the fire when he went into the hole. He was a person who had a coat made of the skin of the locust. Up until this time, all of these animals were people with powers given to them from the time they were created. What the person does on the earth now will determine what he does when the world changes. If a person digs in the garden, he will become a gopher. If a person flies along in a car, he will become a bird. Up until this time, they were all created with these powers. When Locust returned, the day people now knew the soapweed ball was in the hand of the owl. The pheasant was also sent and found this out. Now the day people hammered on all 4 moccasins, and then said that the ball was not in the first one, nor the second one, nor the third one, nor the fourth and last one. They said it was in his hand, and hit the owl on the hand with the club that is used in the game. The owl did have the ball in his hand, and when his hand was hit, dropped it onto the ground. At last the day people had won the ball. Suddenly in came Talking God, leading dawn or the morning. He said, "Who is the boss of dawn, morning, and daylight?" No one answered. He gave them a speech and was very angry. They had just hidden the ball in the moccasins, but Talking God picked it out of the right moccasin. He put the yucca ball into his mouth and started to chew it. He blew this to the east, then to the south, then to the west, then to the north, and up and down. As he did this, the dawn started to come. He said, "If you live like this in the future, you will not be the good and right people. You don't mind what you are told. Not to gamble, drink, but to behave themselves." Talking God then turned them into animals, birds, insects, and bugs. Many of the people were leaders of the animals, or had certain animal characteristics, and these they took, as Talking God commanded. During the gambling game, the 2 sides were using the bear as moccasins for their game, but he fell asleep. When he awoke because of Talking God, he jumped up and put the wrong moccasins on each foot. That is why he walks like he does today. During the games, everyone had painted themselves but the crow, who had gone to sleep. When he awoke, he too jumped up, but fell into the ashes of the fire, where there was a lot of ashes and soot. That is why he is black now. All of the others had designs painted upon them, and that is why they look like they do today. Some of the birds have finger marks on their bodies, and that is why they are like they are. All of them were in a hurry to get away because of their great fear of Talking God. The bugs and insects went into the earth. The snakes curled up there on the ground. That is why snakes get into hogans and crawl into the tops of them. Talking God and the rest spoke together some more, and then left the cave. The god then ran out to the south. When the first twin left to go, he ran towards the rim of the canyon once more, to a place to the north of Chinle, which was to the northeast, called White Ash Point, which was to the point of mountain there. When he reached this point, he waited to see if anyone was still running from the gambling cave. As he watched, he saw a crow and falcon. They were chasing each other, and the crow was crying. They were both running very fast. A bear came out and tried to reach the top of the mountain, and the sun hit his fur when he got to the top. That is why the bear's fur is red on top now. All of the gods had changed into all of these new beings. When you see cliff houses, that was where the gods lived at this time. The pottery in these houses was made by these gods, and they used all kinds of designs. They made pottery by the coil method. Talking God did not like it because these lower gods had copied these designs from heaven, and this is another reason these people were turned into other beings by Talking God. The 12 Scarlet Fever Men came out of the cave and went towards Shiprock and on to Narrow Water Canyon. 6 went to the east and 6 went to the north, and then they split up. 6 went towards Big Sheep Mountain, and the first twin saw them in the distance, and thought they were going towards Big Sheep Mountain itself. The other 6 went to Snatching. It is a black mountain with a black stripe down it. These Scarlet Fever Men had the same type bodies as we have today. After these men went to these 2 places, the first thing the twin did was to make weapons out of big hail. A sharp point was made of a fir branch, which was put on both ends of the big hail. He shot the big hail using lightning to speed it there to Snatching. He did the same, shooting some to Big Sheep Mountain. In this area there were big hail storms caused by big hailstones and tornadoes, which killed all this disease upon the earth. All of these were killed, the scarlet fever, chicken pox, cough, and others, with only a part of their bodies or the dirty part of their bodies, fingernail, skin, etc., left all over the countryside. The parts that were left are the cause of disease now. Some of these fever people caused big sores on the body, which are about 6 inches in diameter, and would cause the whole body to swell. These were the big, sore people, for the dirt fell off of their bodies, and that is what caused the coughs that came later. First man, first woman, first boy, First girl get a fever first and throw it off from them. As the fever goes up into the sky, the sun's rays throw it over the whole earth. These sores were not the cause of venereal disease, for this came from the Mexicans. If a Navajo catches this, he eats nothing before he goes into the sweat hogan. He drinks a cup of medicine and keeps on going into the hogan until the heat is all gone from the rocks. He does not eat one night, but if he were hungry he could eat. If the disease is very serious, it will go all over the whole body. If this should happen, he must eat nothing for 5 days. There are several plants used to make this medicine. Only the people who have had the disease will tell about the plants used. You not only get venereal diseases from a woman, but also from places snakes or horses have laid down or urinated. You can get it from this too. Some of these horses have poison in their blood, and if you urinate where this has happened, in a track, on fur, or the urine of some game animal, you can also get the disease. The first twin continued on to Narrow Water Canyon, and there met the Swallow people. In this canyon, even today, you can hear the gods dancing and their voices at night. People can go there now and hear this, and this will prove my story to be true. F.G. These Swallow people were still people, and not birds as yet. However, they were enemies to the Earth people. These were birds who were very powerful pests, killing people off and eating them. These birds threw stones, earth, trees, bushes, or anything they could get their hands on. For the first time, the first twin was about to be beaten by these powers. They were the most powerful of all he had ever met. There were thousands of them and only one twin, and that is why they were so powerful. All of the first twin's arrow points were broken, and his axe was broken too. Back at his home, the twin's brother saw the prayer stick begin to burn or glow. It glowed just like the end of a cigar. The second twin went out and looked to the east, but saw nothing. He looked to the south, but still saw nothing. He turned and looked to the west, and still saw nothing. As he looked to the north, he saw a cyclone. This cyclone was caused by the dust, trees, and rocks being thrown by the enemy. The second twin knew where the trouble was now. He began to make another weapon, just like the one made before from the big hail by his brother. He shot these with lightning, like they had been shot before, to Narrow Water Canyon to try and kill all of the enemy. The big hail was taken from inside the hogan, for the twins were always prepared for all emergencies. The straight lightning belongs to the second twin, and the first twin had crooked lightning. The second twin shot the big hail from his bow. When the boys had gone to the sun, he had given them bows and arrows. When all of the evil had been destroyed, the arrows were taken from them, and the designs given to the Navajo as the lightning design. The arrows given to the twins had flint points on the ends. The arrows of the twins, when they were shot, went like lightning. The boys used the arrows needlessly, so the sun took them away from them. The Navajo had them at one time, but they were taken from the Navajo too. The whites now make use of the lightning by electricity. If the Navajo still had these arrows, they would be supreme over all other people. The Navajo in recent times tried to make arrows like the twins, but they could not decorate them like the gods did. First on the arrow is drawn a crooked lightning bolt, then a straight one, then another crooked one, and finally a straight lightning bolt. If a person used only the designs of the first twin or the second twin, it would cause the gods, of earlier times or the early gods, to become angry. These designs will make the arrows go faster than arrows without the design. You must have power, knowledge, and a song to put these 4 designs on the arrows. If one has not the knowledge, only 3 of the designs can be scratched upon the arrow. On the arrows was placed a poison by the twins which the Navajo use now. The poison was made out of the ashes of soapweed, raw soapweed. Spiders any kind that has poison, poisonous snakes, poisonous weeds, and other things. The Navajo used this in warfare a long time ago. There was a medicine to cure such a wound caused by this poison. When a person got wounded, this medicine was put inside the wound and left 4 days and then pulled out. This would cure an arrow or bullet wound. The twins had also been given quivers for their arrows. The first twin had one of tiger skin, and the second twin had a quiver made out of minx hide. F.G. has a quiver like the second twin. As the big hail came to where first twin was battling, he knew what was coming, so he was able to protect himself by the power of knowing a name that made the big hail go on by him. He also held the lightning arrow's points in front of him and the shield in back. There was power in these two weapons to protect him also. This is the rule for the holding of these two things, for if the twin had not, he would have been killed. This was a rule made by the sun. When the second twin had finished shooting these weapons, he ran over to the canyon to see if his brother was safe. He traveled by rainbow spectrum to his brother, just like a man who rides the surfboard in the ocean. When he got there, all of the swallow people were dead. His brother was badly wounded, and there was blood and mud all over his body from the great battle. Of all the weapons that the first twin had, the only thing left was his lightning to protect him from the birds. The second twin said, "You finally caught up with the rest of the people and had a tough game. In other words, you finally made the grade, yes." The first twin answered, "I finally ended up with a tough war." After this, the two twins went back to Reversible or Spinning Mountain. When they arrived home, the older brother said, "I want you to fix my arrowheads on the arrows. If these stay broken, they will not be useful anymore." So the second twin agreed. There was a song used at that time, and some have it to use on the flints that are broken. The medicine men have some of these songs now to fix broken arrows, for even the twins needed such songs to fix their arrows. Here is the song that goes where the flints were repaired on the arrows. The war twins repairing arrow song, "I am the flint boy. I 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 am the first war twin. Black flint shoes. Black flint stockings, black flint clothing, black flint heart, black flint cap, 2 black flint war clubs. Lightning where it strikes, the enemy falls back. The lightning crosses underneath me. 4 lightnings come out of my body. Where the lightning strikes, the enemy freezes. I am a flint boy. I am a flint boy." The twins got this song and all of their power from the sun's house. After they fixed the arrows, they looked for more trouble to the east, then to the south, then to the west, and finally to the north. While to the east they met the Cisna Genie. The first twin had a song to go along with it. He sang the 4 good way war songs as he went in each direction. Each time they went out in these directions, they came back to their home before setting out again. After the war twin had found the first mountain to the east, he went on to Water Mountain, Tawale, Gray Body Mountain, Tsisbe, then across the plains to Deer's Spring, on to a mountain by Crown Point, and then returned home. From his home he went to the second mountain to the south, on to Gila Monster Mountain, Tin La Zil, Crown Point Mountain, TS letter 185, 3D Zil, across the plains to Spinning Mountain and back to his home. He then went to the west to the third mountain and on to Spinning Mountain and back home. The fourth and last time he went out, he went to the fourth mountain and then returned home. There is a song that was sung in each of these directions called the 4 Ways Getting Back Song, which is a war song. There is also a 4 Good Ways Getting Back song, which was for the good of all people, so there would be no wars in the future. After the twins had finished cleaning up all of the evil on earth, they went back to see their father. Some people say one twin went back to his father, and some say that both went. In this story, both went on the journey. After they got through with their work, they had little to do around the hogan. Their mother had said that their father had everything that was needed upon the earth. After thinking about this for a little while, they decided to travel and see their father once more. When they arrived at the sun's house, their father asked what they wanted. On the shelf in the center of the house was a basket with a cornstalk inside, which had 2 ears of corn on it. This was growing in the center of the basket. There were also in the basket turquoise, stone horses, and all types of corn: blue, black, white, yellow, and red. There were 4 horses in the basket, 1 to the east, 1 to the south, 1 to the west, and 1 to the north. The horses were made of mirage white shell or bead, mirage turquoise, mirage oyster shell, and mirage jet. The horses ate the corn pollen that fell from the corn tassels. Inside the basket were 4 posts facing the 4 directions, upon which the horses were tied. There were rattles made out of white bead on the pole to the east, turquoise rattles to the south, oyster shell rattles to the west, and jet rattles to the north. Along with the rattles were attached live eagle feathers tied to the posts. Upon the posts were carved the design of the sun and moon. A long time ago, Navajos who knew this story had 4 posts around their hogans. There was a post to the east, 1 to the south, 1 to the west, and 1 to the north. Whichever direction these people came in from when they returned to camp, they tied the horse to that post. When these posts were first placed in their holes, turquoise was placed in the hole to the south, white bead to the one in the east, and so on. By having these things at the bottom of the holes, and having signs assured having more and better horses than those without these things. Upon these posts were also placed white bead rattles. The posts are there when the riders come in from various directions. These posts were placed about 50 feet away from the hogan. When the man goes out to hunt for a horse that has broken his hobble, the horse will return by itself because of the post. The reason he comes home is because there is also medicine in a buckskin in the hogan. The son said to the twins, "You are not to copy my post with live eagle feathers, but you may have one without a feather." The stone horses were tied to these poles, and the son would shake the rattle of white bead. As he did this, the horses would also begin to rattle and move just as if they were alive. This is how the sun gave them exercise, and also did this to give pep and energy to all animals, plants, bushes, trees, and all things upon the earth. There were more horses made out of this material, too, in the basket. The sun opened the door to the east, and the twins saw all kinds and sizes of horses. To the east were ones with white bodies with all kinds of blue designs and spots. To the south was a blue one with white spots and all kinds of designs. There were also horses with white finger marks with a blue background. To the west was a yellow one with black and white spots, while to the north was a black one with a yellow-reddish nose and white spots all over it. The sun's house was much as it was before. The sun opened all 4 doors and showed the boys all of these animals. Suddenly he opened a trapdoor in the center of the floor, and there was a huge horse. It was like a team horse with hooves about a foot in diameter. If all of these animals were not alive, our horses now would not be alive either. The sun then opened the second floor under the first trapdoor, and there was a horse with a curly mane, tail, and hair on its body. This horse was eating loco weed and was crazy, lazy, and not worth much. The 2 twins did not want any of these horses in these rooms. They wanted to have the stone horses. The son said, "The white bead woman has these horses, and she knows the songs to go with them to raise them correctly." White bead woman had the songs for the horses, but would not tell the twins. They were not behaving and obeying her. "Your mother has these stone horses, but go over to Wide Belt Mountain, Cisnagini, and get them from your brother," the son told them. The twins had a brother who the son told them lived at Wide Belt Mountain, and who was called the Frogman. As they left, the twins only received 2 eagle feathers from their father to help them on their journey. The boys were running around doing nothing, and they were given the feathers in case they ever needed help. If you mind your father and do as he says he might say to you, "Here is something for you," he might give you something, and so it was with the son. Nowadays an eagle feather is used as a whip. Some Navajo put the live eagle feathers inside their whips, and then use them to whip the horse and win a race. Some of these feathers can be put inside the tail of a horse. Those that have such feathers will not let everyone use these. The twins were the same way the Navajos are with things today. The Hopi show their feathers when they make use of them, while the Navajo hide them, for they know all about such things. The Hopi do differently from the Navajo. The white man was told how to use the feather for pens, but now they have forgotten this. Before the twins left the house, the son told them about the loco horse. He said, "Later horses will die from this weed. The animals will die so that the number of animals will be lessened. When there are too many horses coming upon the earth, I will send loco weeds, and the horses will die from this. That is how I will get my horses back. Whenever a horse dies and the flesh is gone, the bones also go somewhere. Somehow they go back to the sun's house. White Bead Woman would not give her sons songs and horses before this, for they were naughty and disobedient. When they got home, their mother would still not give them these things. She gave as her reason for not doing this, as there was no place to raise stock. The boys were very disappointed and went outside the hogan. In the distance they saw a horse near their brother's home at Wide Belt Mountain. They were just imagining they saw the horse, for what they really saw was a plant. It was Jack Rabbit Brush, Gazoda, which is gray. There was also another plant which was a salt plant called Dukoji. This plant they also saw in the distance. They also saw a grass called Ndilamdidi, and one which was curly called Tnastxasiq. There was also a grass plant which had a bushy top, and about 2½ feet high, called Tiokosi. In the distance the twins saw these bunched together. All of these plants are those which horses feed on. The twins went over to see these things. 4 times they tried to find the horses, but found nothing. On the 4th and last night they saw a fire in that direction. Next morning they went over, but could find no one there. The twins saw fire for 4 nights, and on the last night they put up 2 posts to point out the direction where the fire was at. This was so they could aim towards the fire. This is where the white man got his telescope. Next morning the first twin aimed his sticks in the direction they pointed and saw about where the fires had been. They went over there and came to where they had seen the fires. There he found a hole in the ground. The twins looked down into the hole and then crawled down into it. There the 2 twins found a large lake with a lot of weeds on the surface of the eastern side. There were water weeds, long reeds, and pollen on the shore. This pollen was what the horses ate. There were all kinds of horses there, palominos, pinks, and others. First twin saw a dark, heavy-set man with a big neck and throat like a frog, or like he had the mumps, coming toward him. He said, "What are you doing roaming around here? This is no place for earth people to be." This was their brother, Frog Man. His mother was one of the wives of the sun, one of the 33. Frog Man was loaded up with all kinds of turquoise, white bead, jet, and oyster shell, which were sewn onto his clothes and worn on his body as jewelry. This Frog Man was a god and lived in the water. The Frog Man was not dressed like the twins. He was like us in figure, had a face like us, but had clothes made out of frog skin. The twins talked to him and told him they had gone to their father and mother, but could not get any horses. There were many sheep down there, also gray, white, brown, and black goats with striped faces and stripes running down their backs. All kinds of animals that live on the earth today were there. The whole is in the Wide Belt Mountain itself. Up until this time there were no animals that could be used upon the earth. Some animals and horses on the earth belonged to the gods and not the people. Some animals were on the earth, but others were not used on the earth. Cattle are not afraid of water or mud nowadays because they were put in the water when they were created. Some cattle will get caught in swamps, and even if the belly is rotten, the animal is still alive. If it is too rotten, it cannot be helped. Sometimes cattle will stay in mud for 25 days and still be alive. There is no ceremony that is used to save these animals. If there is good care of the animals, they will stay in one place and will have good food and water. If the animal has a secret name and these other things are done, the animal will be saved. The Frogman said to the twin, "I have everything, just like White Bead Woman on the earth." White Bead Woman had a basket full of everything, just like the sun, but would give things to no one, not even her sons. The twins had been naughty and selfish. The Frogman said, "What did you come here for? Do you want one of my horses, sheep, or goats?" The horses and sheep were having fun running around in the dust. The boys said, "No, we did not want the live ones, but we wanted Mirage Quartz rock horses." Frogman picked up a basket made of turquoise, which was about the same size and shape as the marriage basket. He put 4 Mirage Quartz rock horses of different colors, of white, blue, yellow, and black inside the basket. He then put corn pollen on the top of the horses. Frogman told them, "Take the basket out and put it on top of the wide belt mountain, but do not look. Go home and then come back later. Go and look at the basket in 4 days before the sun comes up." They left, and all of the things Frogman had told them to do, they did. When the first and second twin went back and came to the basket, one of the Mirage Quartz Rock horses was gone, leaving the small ones in the basket. Every time the twins blinked their eyes, the Mirage Quartz Rock horses changed from rock into live horses. As they blinked again, the horses changed back as they had been before. It was the second horse that was missing. It was the female blue one to the south. The one to the east was a male, the one to the south was a female, the one to the west was a male, and the one to the north was a female. The twins started to look for tracks and found a single footprint to the east. The hoofs were the same size as horses' hoofs are today. The twins made a circle and found 2 tracks. The third time they circled and found 3 tracks. The fourth and last time as they circled, they found 4 tracks. All of the tracks led east. The horse was stolen, and as the twins searched, they finally found the horse. There were 5 people who had stolen the horse: Coyote, Owl, Vulture, Crow, and Magpie. There were people who looked like us, but were gambling people. As they were gambling people, they had lost all of their property. That is why they wanted property, and had stolen the horse from the twins. People now gamble and gyp money or anything off of people because of what these 5 had done. The owl had a face like us, but had a hump on his nose and wore feathers as clothes, feather clothing. Vulture had a face like us, but he had no hair on his head. He had just a small fringe of hair around the top, and also had feather clothes. The crow had hair like us, but he had a large nose and feather clothes. Black Bird was a nice-looking person, like us, with feather clothes and a large nose. They all had designs on their clothes, and in the springtime, all the birds and animals took them off as if they were clothes. They grew the clothes, yet they are clothes to be taken off as if they were really clothes. Coyote wore clothes of fur and had a long tail. These were looting people who stole from other people. They asked the twins many questions. "What are you doing here? No earth people belong here." They were, however, caught red-handed, and they were angry because of this. When the twins caught up with them, these 5 made some speeches. "We are your brothers, half. Brothers, for the sun had many wives. Each of these gods had a mother who was the wife of the sun. You are the only ones on earth who were given the horse." All 5 men said this. "These animals' horses who die from now on will feed the animals above. The coyote will have meat and bones, everything." The vulture said, "I will get all the remains." The magpie said, "I will get the backbone meat." The crow spoke and said, "I will take the eyes off of the horses." The owl said, "I will be a fortune teller," for he got no meat. Finally, the vulture said, "I will be the last to get the meat. All that is rotten, that will be my chance to take over." So this is how birds and animals are nowadays when they see animals dead. If this had not happened in those days, they would not happen now. After this, both twins took the horse back towards their hogan. The sun saw all this through the dawn, and he came up until he got to where the basket was. The sun traveled by the sun's rays, and came up to where the twins were. He said to them, "I know they the 5 gods are my children, and that they are naughty. They never ask for animals or how to take care of them. That is why they never got any of them. You asked for animals, and that is why you were given the horse." After this, the twins took their basket to their mother's hogan. When they arrived, White Bead Woman said, "It is a good thing for you to ask for these things and to take good care of them. I have everything here." As the horses stepped out of the basket, they became full size, and if they stepped back inside the basket, they once more became miniature horses. The next morning, the twins again saw 4 horses in the distance. The first twin ran over there, and he met with the horses. The first was a white bead horse, a male pure white made out of white bead. The next was a female turquoise horse. The next was a male oyster shell horse, and at last was a female jet horse. These, in addition to the Mirage Quartz Rock horses, made 8 horses in all. However, when the first twin blinked his eyes, the horses turned into real people. He winked again, and they turned into horses and ran away from him. When he rounded them up, there was no stud, and so every night he had to put them in the corral to protect them. He had a corral about 15 feet wide, and he was able to fill up the corral with all 8 of his horses. When he came up to the horses which he acquired last, the first horse turned into a young man, the second into a young woman, the third into a young boy, and the fourth into a young girl. They asked him, "Is that you his secret name?" And the twin answered, "Is that you people their secret name?" Each asked this 4 times back and forth. After the 4th time the twin began to sing a song, and all the people turned into horses and ran away. The frog man had told him the names of these horse people. On the 4th morning the twin found a small curly-haired horse about 3 and 1, half to 4 feet high. He thought it would be of no use to make this horse his stallion, for it was too small. The wind told the twin, "This is a good horse." Because of what the wind said, the twin made this horse his stud, and raised many horses from him. The Mirage Quartz Rock horses were kept in the basket. A feather was used in those days for a whip. That is why a Navajo will not lend you his whip, for it has great power to make the horses go faster. Feathers are also used to braid inside bridles or horse hide ropes. The twins' mother taught them how to take care of all the stock and sing songs to make them produce and grow. Here is a type of song that was used by people a long time ago. Horse song standing sideways, standing sideways, standing sideways, standing sideways, white bead. I am the dawn boy. White bead horse turned to a boy. I stand up for my horse. Turquoise horse turned to a girl. I stand up for my horse. Oyster shell horse turned to a boy. I stand up for my horse. Jet horse turned to a girl. I stand up for my horse. All kinds of horses go along with these others. All kinds of sheep go along with these others. Flexible goods go along with me. Chips of all kinds go along with me.